Welcome to the Gut 360 podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Brecher, a registered associate nutritionist on a mission to empower you to transform the health of your mind, body, and gut. This podcast is the place where we share nutrition tips, mindset tools, and actionable steps to help you thrive on your journey to a healthier gut and a happier you. If you're ready to get into the driver's seat of your own health and unlock your full potential, you're in the right place, and I am so glad you're here. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Gut 360 podcast. Happy New Year if you're listening when this first comes out. It's the 1st of January 2024, and that falls on a Monday, which makes me even more excited about that New Year energy. So in this first episode, I'll be giving you a brief introduction into who I am, why I started the Gut 360 podcast, and what you can expect to hear on here. I thought I'd start by opening up about my own journey with gut health, being diagnosed with Crohn's disease at the age of 8, and how that really shaped the trajectory of my life for the better. I'll also chat about running 2 businesses, spending 8 years at university, and my life as a nutritionist now. So put the kettle on, make yourself a cozy cup of tea or a matcha, my personal preference, or throw your trainers on and head outside for a walk while you listen to today's episode. This podcast is something I've wanted to start for a very long time. I personally love listening to podcasts while I'm on my morning walk every single day and while I'm cooking or baking. And I wanted to start my own all about gut health because I know firsthand that having a healthy gut really is the foundation of overall wellness. Gut health can seem like a really complex topic, but the truth is it doesn't need to be confusing. So that's why I've started this, to break down complicated nutrition topics into really easy to understand concepts and bust some of the many nutrition myths that are floating around on social media. I also want to explore different areas of gut health, whether it's bloating, brain fog, probiotics, hormones, or how the gut affects our mood, our skin, our immune system. The gut really does have such an enormous effect on our whole body. Episodes are going to be released once a week on a Monday morning, just in time for you to listen on your Monday morning walk to start the week right. And I genuinely want this podcast to become your weekly dose of Monday morning inspiration to help you look after your gut health with a 360-degree approach. So not only looking at the food that we eat, but also being mindful of lifestyle strategies, stress management techniques, and mindset practices that can make a real difference to your gut health and your overall well-being. Now, I did say I was going to be sharing my personal gut health journey, so let's rewind 20 years to when I was an 8-year-old girl growing up in London and I'd started having some health issues. It didn't take long for me to get a diagnosis of Crohn's disease, which I soon found out would never go away. If you haven't heard of Crohn's, it's an autoimmune condition, which means the immune system attacks itself, causing inflammation and ulcers throughout the digestive tract, so in the intestines, and resulting in symptoms that can be quite debilitating. I was put on a cocktail of different medications and told to go on a liquid diet for 3 months where I wasn't allowed any food at all and had to have these really disgusting tasting drinks all day to give my gut a rest while providing all the nutrients that I needed. Once the 3 months had passed, I then went on a very restrictive diet, cutting out all major food groups for a while and then slowly reintroducing them to see which foods would trigger my symptoms. This was done over the course of several years. So as an 8, 9, 10-year-old, I'd go to birthday parties and ask the parents if I could read the ingredients labels of all the food that they were serving, scanning the ingredients for hidden words for dairy, such as lactose, whey, casein, and all the many other ingredients I had to avoid. All of this meant that I became acutely aware from a very young age that the food we put in our bodies can either improve our health or it can make us sick. But this way of eating quickly became second nature to me throughout my years at school. Then, a decade later, at 18, I went off to the University of Nottingham to study French and Spanish, and when I got there, things started to go downhill with my health. To be totally honest, I felt like no one was watching me, so would it really make a difference if I had one slice of Domino's pizza after a night out with my housemates? Well, as you can probably imagine, one slice quickly turned into a whole pizza multiple times a week, polished off with a tub of Ben & Jerry's for good measure. We've all been there, right? On top of this, I was pushing my body to its limits with late nights partying, too much alcohol, a diet that consisted mainly of cereal from the bag and peanut butter spoons straight out of the jar. Some things never change. And the added physical stress of training for a half marathon at the same time. Needless to say, it didn't take long for my newfound student lifestyle to catch up with me, and I soon had a really horrible flare-up of my Crohn's. I had to learn the hard way, and I don't regret it because it really did teach me a lesson that our health is the most precious, valuable asset we have, and without our health, we literally have nothing. I decided things needed to change and started a food blog on Instagram, which at the time was called Cereal and Peanut Butter, given these were the foundations of my diet at uni. I spent hours researching how food could help me feel better and learned how to cook and started making healthy sweet treats to snack on. My fascination for the world of nutrition grew from there, and by the time I was on my year abroad in Paris and Madrid, I'd been posting my meals daily on Instagram for nearly 2 years, and I'd even started working with some healthy food brands, developing recipes using their products and sharing these on Instagram. Despite doing my degree in languages, I was spending every moment of my free time learning about nutrition in any way I could, going to events with other wellness bloggers, taking courses in food photography and food styling. Most importantly, I felt like myself again. My Crohn's was finally in remission, I had my energy back, and I was no longer crippled by that constant fatigue and brain fog, which are both common symptoms of Crohn's. Nutrition had transformed my life, and I knew it was what I wanted to pursue so that I could help others to take back control of their gut health and live the life that they really wanted to, without being held back by digestive issues like I had been. As my graduation approached, I got in touch with a few nutritionists on Instagram, asking what's the easiest fast-track route to becoming a nutritionist that was still a respectable qualification, as I'd come across a few short courses online that stated that I'd be a qualified nutritionist by the end of the 4-week course. There really is no fast track. I decided to commit to another 4-year undergrad in human nutrition, as I didn't have a background in science, so I wasn't eligible to go straight onto a master's program. And that difficult decision was hands down the best choice I ever made. The first year was a shock. It was a science foundation course with biochemistry, physics, even statistics, and I really felt I'd been thrown into the deep end. We had lab practicals every week, and there was just so much to take in. But I made a promise to myself that I would do whatever it took to succeed, and from day one, I was determined to graduate with a first. I messaged every nutritionist on Instagram, begging them to let me shadow them, and I ended up doing so many work experience placements while studying. Meanwhile, I was still posting daily recipes on my Instagram platform, which had now evolved from cereal and peanut butter to Brecher Nutrition. And I was working with more and more brands as a content creator. The most popular recipe on my blog was my homemade peanut butter granola recipe. My friends and family were regularly asking me to make them another batch and insisting on paying me for it. So naturally, my next business was born. Ellie's Granola quickly took over every spare minute I had as I began researching packaging, designing a website, figuring out profit margins, and registering as a limited company. My wonderful mum allowed me to turn her kitchen into a granola factory and her spare bedroom into my warehouse, stacked to the ceiling with crates of ingredients and postal boxes. I soon started supplying local shops and delis, as well as setting up a stall in Camden Market every Saturday. So as you can probably imagine, I had a lot going on. Running Ellie's Granola certainly had its ups and downs. Anyone with a business in the food industry knows that every day is a roller coaster. And I was constantly faced with new challenges to overcome and hoops to jump through. Ultimately, though, it gave me a real flavor of what it's like to run your own business, which was just the best gift I could have received while completing my nutrition degree. Towards the end of my degree, I wrote my thesis on Crohn's disease and behavior change, looking at how psychology and social media impacted the clinical management of Crohn's. The conclusion of my research paper, my thesis, was that we needed an individualized approach to healthcare services that's tailored to each patient's needs and circumstances. And this is something that I'm a huge believer in, the importance of personalized nutrition. Because when it comes to our health, there really is no one-size-fits-all diet. That's why in my clinic now, I take a personalized approach with every client to enable each person to reach their unique health goals. By the time I graduated and qualified as a registered associate nutritionist accredited by the AFN, or the Association for Nutrition, I was beyond ready to get out of the education system after 8 years of studying, and I knew I wanted to set up my own business. I'll be honest with you though, I definitely struggled with imposter syndrome, especially in the first year of working as a nutritionist, even though my clients were coming to me with amazing results and totally transforming their health. But at the end of the day, I felt, and I still do feel, so grateful that I get to do what I'm passionate about. It really is the most rewarding feeling whenever I receive these heartwarming testimonials from my clients saying that their life has changed since working together and they feel the best they felt in 10 years. My business now has 5 main branches, which I'll whiz you through. So first and foremost, I work privately with clients in a one-to-one setting at my clinic on Harley Street and online. I also do workplace well-being and corporate talks, work with brands, which includes consultancy and content creation. I write for the press, so for publications like The Times, The Evening Standard, and Vogue. And finally, I host monthly events and mini retreats, which is so much fun. It's amazing because I get to connect with my community in real life, and there really is nothing like it. Yes, it's a lot, but I absolutely love what I do, and I feel so lucky that I get to help people transform their nutrition and their gut health, because I know firsthand how much that impacts every area of our life. From our energy levels to our mental health, our immune system, our sleep, even our productivity at work. So that's a little peek into my story, how I got to where I am today, and hopefully you feel like you got to know me a bit better today. Honestly, I would love to get to know you too, so please do come and connect with me on Instagram. My handle is @Brecher Nutrition. I'll leave the link in the show notes if you're not already on there. My Instagram DMs are always open, so drop me a message to let me know what you thought of today's episode. If it did resonate or you enjoyed listening, I would really appreciate if you could rate and leave a review wherever you're listening to this. This really allows my podcast to reach more people and helps me with my mission to empower more people to transform their health and also build a special community of people who are ready to take back control of their gut health. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful start to 2024, and I will be back in your ears next Monday. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Gut 360 podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast or learned something new, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. And make sure you hit follow for weekly episodes every Monday morning. Do share this podcast with anyone who you think it may benefit. And for your chance to win a free online nutrition consultation with me, just take a screenshot of this episode and share it on your Instagram stories, tagging @Brecher Nutrition so I can repost you. See you back here next Monday.